Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fully Charged Show podcast. This week's episode, it was a delight for me because I was talking to someone I have known and admired and discussed things with for many years. And it was a great pleasure to catch up with him because I haven't seen him. Well, obviously I haven't seen him for a long time. I haven't seen him this year. I haven't spoken to him for a couple of years. And every now and then I'll hear a little bit of news and some little story will pop up. And I go, what on earth is Dale up to now? So this week's guest is Dale Vince, the founder and CEO of Ecotricity, one of Britain's first and indeed very, very big renewable electricity supply companies. You buy electricity from Ecotricity. If you live in the UK, your house can be powered by Ecotricity. They've invested an enormous amount of money in wind generation and many other projects. Dale's always got some mad projects brewing away in the background. Now, we've discussed many things with him on Fully Charged. One of the early electric cars I drove was the Nemesis, which we mentioned in this episode, an electric car that he built with a team himself, which was an amazing car. I think momentarily held the land speed record for an electric vehicle. We're talking 10 years ago. He's done some amazing things. He's working on an amazing electric motorbike at the moment. He's a very keen motorcyclist. He's also a vegan. He also is the head sponsor, and I don't even know what his role is, of a football team in the United Kingdom called the Forest Green Rovers, the Britain's first and, as far as I know, only vegan football team. We discussed that a bit. He runs one of the biggest electric vehicle charging networks in the UK, the Electric Highway, which has been a contentious topic. I'm not going to try and smooth over the cracks, because occasionally the Ecotricity Electric Highway network is not the most 100% reliable. Sometimes when you land there late at night, I hear so many tweets about it. But they were the first by a mile. Every single motorway services and every single service area where you stop on Britain's motorway network has electric car chargers, and has done for quite some time, and they're all Ecotricities. And that whole network is obviously expanding, but they were the first. And the first one I ever used, which we also discussed, was a 3-pin outlet, like a domestic socket on a pole at a motorway services. And you could plug your electric car into that, and that was as much as they could do. So he's done a great deal. Well, what he's done most recently, apart from vegan burgers, which I didn't even know about, we'll hear a bit more about that, but what he's done most recently is diamonds. He's decided to make, he's like as we discussed, he's a bit like a James Bond villain. He's now making sky diamonds. James Bond in sky diamonds. I mean, it's just bonkers. He's making diamonds out of water and carbon that they extract from the atmosphere, the CO2 that we're releasing into the atmosphere in gargantuan amounts. He's sucking that carbon out and he's putting it into diamonds. That's all that goes into it. Water and diamonds and renewable electricity. He's making diamonds. He's made diamonds already. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. The whole thing is completely bonkers. So, here we go. Please welcome to the Fully Charged Show podcast, Mr. Dale Vince from Ecotricity. Now, this episode of the Fully Charged Show podcast is brought to you by Ripple Energy. Who are Ripple Energy, you might ask? Well, Ripple enables you to own a bit of a new wind farm and have its clean, low-cost electricity supplied to your home. That sounds to me like quite a good idea. It's even greener than a green tariff, as you actually own part of a new wind farm rather than just getting the electricity from someone else's. And it's cheaper than putting solar on your roof. Ripple has partnered with Octopus Energy. Once the wind farm starts generating in early summer next year, Octopus supplies its electricity to your home. It's a great way to genuinely act on climate change. Ripple makes it possible for anyone to own their own source of clean power. They want to transform the electricity market so that instead of pension funds or infrastructure funds or utilities owning the world's energy assets, consumers do. And when I say consumers, I'm talking about people like you and me. Black Friday is coming up, the day when everyone buys someone Christmas presents that will never get used and create huge amounts of waste and emissions. This is just, some of the things you might use, but a lot of them definitely not. So Ripple is turning Black Friday green. It's now Green Friday. From Friday the 27th of November, you'll be able to give your loved ones a gift of a greener, brighter future. You'll be able to buy them a little bit of a wind farm to supply them with green, zero carbon power for 25 years. Now, there's not many presents that's going to last 25 years. Really good quality socks. Probably not going to quite make it. This is possibly the greenest, most climate-friendly present ever. After a pretty grim year, we need something to look forward to. 25 years of green electricity from a bit of shiny new wind farm could cheer anyone up. Ripple is launching a gift voucher offer. Vouchers start from just £10 right up to £5,000, so it can suit whatever your budget is. Obviously, the more of the wind farm you own, the more green electricity they would get and the more savings they get off their electricity bill. The voucher is a lot easier to wrap than a 125 metre high wind turbine and will definitely fit under the Christmas tree. Now, we all know that people are worried about climate change and want to help, but sometimes just don't know how to even make the first step. We don't know, it's complicated. So giving them a bit of a wind farm with Ripple is a really good first step. It's fun, it's easy, but it's genuine. It's a genuine way to act on climate change. You'll be able to buy the wind farm vouchers on Ripple's website at Ripple Energy, all one word, ripplenergy.com, from Black, or rather Green Friday. That's the 27th of November. Right in time for Christmas. But now, Dale, there's a few things I want to talk to you about, because what you do and what you have done and what you're doing now is amazing. And it's quite a lot of it kind of flies a bit under the radar. And every now and then I'll hear something. I go, oh my God, I don't really say, I've got to do the diamonds first. I want to talk about other things you're doing. But the diamonds is, I heard that on your actual BBC radio. And I went, oh, that's it. Dale's lost it. He's gone mad. He's making diamonds. What the hell is... Just because you did explain it very well on the radio, but I mean, just explain it for our...
Yeah, I will do. Look, first, let me say this. We were going to launch it earlier in the year, but lockdown got in the way. What we planned was April the 1st, because it's such a crazy story. We knew that people would look at it and say, that is the April the 1st story.
Yes, yeah.
And then the next day, April the 2nd, we'd be going, no, guys, it's real. We're really doing this. So what we've done is, it took a few years. We created a process whereby we can take carbon out of the atmosphere and turn it into diamonds. It's kind of literally that simple, although it's quite a complicated process. And I began thinking about it 10 years ago as an environmentalist, thinking about the idea of geoengineering. How do we pull carbon out of the atmosphere?
Yeah.
Because one day we've got to address the fact that it's higher now than it's been for millions of years. Yes. First, we've got to stop pumping the stuff out. But once we've done that, we've got to pull some back out of the atmosphere. And I thought, getting it out is one thing, but we've got to lock it up to make it, permanently stored. And actually, the most permanent form of carbon that we know of is a diamond.
Right.
And wouldn't it be amazing if we could link all of that up? And then 7 years ago, we set out to create a process to do that. And 2 years ago, we started making stones and perfecting the recipe to make flawless diamonds, which we've done. And I tell you what I love about it. This is the kind of, I think it sets a new standard for industrial processes, because the air that we put back into the atmosphere is cleaner than the air that we take out. And everything we use to make our diamonds comes from the sky. We use only the wind, the sun, rainwater, and carbon dioxide.
Wow. That is...
I love it.
Because then the other thing, I mean, this is where I would not know the answer, but the notion, so the notion of carbon capture and storage is very popular amongst the coal burning community. You've got to put that masses of carbon gas somewhere. So they're talking about pumping it into empty oil wells under the sea. And you just think stuff leaks, especially on that scale. I mean, that's one side of it that makes me anxious. But also, I'm assuming that that a diamond represents very highly compressed material, whatever it is. So you're putting a lot of something into a diamond and squashing it. And it's heat and pressure is what makes diamonds in the planet, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, over time, I think there are two modern methods to make them. One does use pressure and temperature, and the other one uses a ball of plasma, which is a fourth state of matter, apparently, which is like really quite exciting for anybody into science. And we have this ball of plasma runs 8,000 degrees centigrade, same temperature as the surface of the sun.
Yeah.
And we have diamond seeds within that ball of plasma, and we pump gases into it, and that causes the carbon to crystallize into a diamond form onto the diamond seed. It's quite special to watch. It takes about 2 weeks.
Wow. So, I mean, in terms of, energy consumption and the economics of that, it's not a cheap process. You're not like mass producing dirt cheap diamonds. I mean, but what it's doing is absorbing a lot of carbon. I mean, that's the. I'm just checking. Is that the prime motivation that you're getting?
It was my starting place to, take carbon out of the atmosphere, lock it into something permanent. And I thought, like, for example, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to offer a service to companies whereby we could give them annually their carbon footprint in the form of a sack of diamonds? Wouldn't that be amazing? but actually what we...
I mean, it's very James Bond. I mean, I think you need to be sitting in a chair with a cat, stroking it and laughing with a huge sacks of diamonds all around you.
Yeah. I've got the chair and the laugh. I need the cat. But as it turns out, the amount of carbon in a diamond is really rather small.
Right, that's what I was asking. Yeah, it is small.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So in a carat of diamond, we think we're taking roughly about 1 gram of CO2 out of the atmosphere.
Right.
But what we discovered is it's the avoided carbon that's much bigger. So we commissioned a study, which we published a couple of weeks ago from Imperial College in London, because there's no independent study of the diamond mining industry. So these guys went out and crunched the data, and they've come back, and there's actually 110 kilograms of carbon dioxide emitted for every single carat of diamond.
Right. That would absolutely make sense. Yeah.
So we avoid that. But also they blast and displace 1,100 tons of rock for every single carat of diamond that they produce, which is a massive amount of dirt.
Right.
Holes they dig are big enough to be seen from space.
Yeah.
They use 4,000 liters of water. And of course, there are knock-on impacts, the social conditions for workers, the environment impacts from pollution, all this kind of stuff. So what we found is actually the avoided pollution is far, far bigger than what we're able to lock up into a stone.
And I mean, because one of the process, because, whenever you think of diamonds, you always think sort of diamond jewelry and all that stuff. But actually, a lot of diamonds are used in industrial processes for cutting things. I mean, they're very, and grinding and all that stuff. There's a big demand for them. I mean, so in terms of their actual constituency, are they indistinguishable from natural diamonds? I mean, are they as hard and as densely molecular?
They're actually they are identical,
right?
But they are slightly harder.
Wow.
Which is they're just a little bit harder to cut for some reason, presumably because we've made them and that kind of stuff. But they're indistinguishable. We have all of ours graded by the IGI, I think it is. We've been doing that so that we could actually track our improvement in quality in terms of color and flawlessness and that kind of stuff. It's a diamond, and there's a whole bunch of people out there that have been avoiding mined diamonds because of the impact of them. We know this because I've been in touch in the last 2 weeks saying, actually, I could have a diamond like this, and I would feel good about it.
Yeah.
And, a big argument, I came at this from an environment point of view, thinking, how do we get carbon out and lock it up? We've arrived at a place where we know it's not a lot of carbon, but there's a lot of avoided carbon. And what we're saying is, look, guys, it's time to end diamond mining.
Stop digging them up. Yeah.
Absolutely, because we can mine the sky. We can make the same thing. We can make it in a far more environmentally and socially friendly way. It's harmless, actually. It's not low carbon. It's not zero carbon. Our process is negative carbon.
Negative carbon, yeah. I mean, in a sense, the more negative carbon industrial processes we can come up with, which I'm sure we can, the better. And this is a brilliant start. I mean, is the... if to the naked eye, then, to someone who goes into a jeweler's, who doesn't know a lot about diamonds, but if you saw a ring with a diamond that was dug up in a mine in South Africa and a diamond that was made from carbon by you, would I be able to tell the difference just looking at it if they were cut in a similar way? They look identical.
Absolutely.
Right.
Jewelers will struggle. You need to be in a lab to see the difference, and then there's a kind of tiny difference in the crystalline structure that a lab can identify.
Right. But generally speaking, you wouldn't be able to. That is amazing. But I mean, so can it be? I mean, I don't know how many you can produce at the moment, but could it be sort of stepped up so that you're producing, I don't know, thousands a week or something like that? Is that quite a big jump, or is that plausible?
No, I think it's plausible. So we kind of feel that we're just coming out of R&D now. We've got 6 machines, and we're just getting into a kind of production mindset, running them around the clock. We think we can make about 200 carats per month, but we built a facility, what we call the Sky Mining Works, the equipment that does all of that. and the
it is more and more James Bond.
It is. And then we've got these diamond mills, the places where we make them.
Yeah.
And we reckon... we built a facility to increase 5-fold in capacity. So we can get to about 1,000 carats a month where we are. We can do that in the next 12 to 18 months.
Right.
But it's so scalable. I'm thinking now, actually, probably the best thing we can do is get some external investment and just grow really fast. And there's 143 million carats of diamonds mined in the world last year.
Right.
And if you spread the dirt that they dug, a third of a meter of depth, you could cover the entire United Kingdom in the displaced dirt from that industry.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, let's grow fast, and just take that industry on.
Yes, yeah. Because I mean, that's the other thing when, all the arguments about, lithium and cobalt and platinum and all the elements that often go into modern electronics and batteries and all that stuff, diamonds, I absolutely accept that diamonds used in industrial processes are a legitimate thing that the human race needs to make the things we have. But to be honest, we could live without diamond bracelets and rings. It would be possible. It'd be tough. But if you can manufacture those so that there is an actual negative carbon impact of those products, as opposed to a colossal environmental scarring, that's the massive plus, isn't it? Yeah.
As we like to say, it's bling without the sting.
Oh, you do come up with some good, because I mean, what's the other one? The Sky Mine. The
Sky Mine, yeah.
That's a James Bond title. James Bond, Sky Mine.
Actually, we have another one, Sky Clad, a way of describing wearing sky diamonds.
Right, Skyclad. Yeah, that is, and the bling without the, what was it? The bling
without the sting.
Bling without the sting.
But there's a serious message behind this, because as you probably know, quite frequently there's a myth that living green is about giving stuff up.
Yes,
and that's holding us back. And whether you're looking at food or transport or energy, it's not true. Yeah. And so, for us, diamonds is a new frontier to the same argument. We're saying, look, we haven't got to give up living. We can still live. We can still have fun. We can still have diamonds, FFS. But we can get them in a different way.
Yeah. No, that is very critically important. I mean, I think that's, in a way, that's what's been so exciting about the whole journey that, certainly I know you've been on for longer than me, but I've been on since sort of, going in an electric car and go, why would you bother? What's wrong with the internal combustion? Oh, those steps that I went through, and then, a hybrid. Oh, that's better. It uses less petrol. And then you go, well, why am I using any petrol? And then, that whole journey. But what that did, way beyond anything to do with cars, was open up this whole other world, which is, where you've been at the absolute forefront for a long time, of working out other ways of doing things, of other ideas and products that you can produce, or without burning. It does come often back to without burning stuff. It does. Effectively, I suppose you are, in a way, well, you're using heat, but you're not really burning stuff to make diamonds.
No, we're not.
You're not burning any gases or minerals. I mean, you're using solar and wind.
We use renewable energy to power everything. And other than that, we use rainwater and CO2 from the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. So there really isn't a truck arriving secretly at the back of the Sky Mine with a load of something in it. I don't.
No. And another one leaving with a load of something else in it that we need to dump somewhere.
The ashes that you've got to bury somewhere. Yes, yeah. So that is very, very good. Oh, well, I mean, that is brilliant. Well, the other one, have you got any sort of web? This shows how well I've done the research. Web pages or anything? Any other links to that? Because we can put those in the show notes of this episode. But great.
Yeah, we've got a website, skydiamond.com.
Right.
And there's the stories up there, which is pretty cool.
Right.
And we're launching something new today. I don't know if you're interested in your podcast.
Yes.
But we're doing a Willy Wonka. So I've got a book coming out next Thursday.
Right. I did know about the book. Yes.
Yeah. And what we're doing is we're putting a diamond ticket. We're putting 10 diamond tickets randomly in amongst these books, so that you can find a diamond ticket, which will entitle you to a 1 carat sky diamond and a tour of the factory if you want it.
Fantastic.
Willy Wonka style.
Wow. Oh, that's what we'll plug the book. What's the book called? So that
the book's called Manifesto. It was published by Penguin and it's out next Thursday.
Fantastic. We'll put links to that in as well underneath the show. That is very good.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So in that then, do you cover sort of most of the activities you've been involved in the last few years?
Yeah, it was a really fun book to write. I wrote it in a month in lockdown, really intense month, I should say. And it's kind of part biography, part mission statement, and it ends in chapter 13, The Manifesto. And it's a kind of zero carbon plan, and it pulls together all of these threads of the things we've been working on to focus on energy, transport, and food, the 3 big areas of life. The technology that exists, that's coming soon, what government needs to do, what business and people need to do. And it's kind of joined up. It shows the economic madness of how we do things at the moment. And how actually it's not just environmental sense to make this change, but it is also economic sense as well as for human health and the planet. That's the chapter that I'm most excited about because I hope that it might have an impact on politicians and policymakers as well as people.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book partly about my life and 20 years in business and all of the dodgy people I bumped into.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm one of them.
No, I was thinking of that Tesla dude actually. But
the Tesla dude. I think we can gently slide by the Tesla dude, unless you're desperate to.
No, God no.
But because the other things I would love to go through. Well, Britwind is still going. Is that still there?
It is. It's furloughed at the moment. And obviously we struggled with the onshore wind ban that Cameron gave us about 5 years ago now. But we're still there. So we've got a little place in Stroud where, and I love this, we make burgers, windmills, and diamonds. It's a fabulous little place.
So the burgers are 100% vegan.
Plant-based burgers. It began about 2 years ago, the idea of making primary school dinners plant-based, and they're like free from all the 14 major food allergens as well. Right. Super tasty, but super inclusive. Everybody can eat them. And it just took off. It went, to secondary schools, universities and stuff, and then football clubs just before lockdown, and it'll be in retail in a few more weeks, online retail. Good. We call it the Devil's Kitchen, and honestly, it's the best veggie burger I've ever tried.
Oh, brilliant! I can't wait to try one. Yeah.
I've tried a few, and we've got like big plans, big hopes for it. We're currently producing enough plant-based food to save the life of a cow about every 2 days.
Wow!
So by body weight, we're shipping a cow's worth of equivalent every 2 days, and our ambition is to do a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Got a couple of herds. That is really good. I didn't know about. I must admit, I didn't know about the burgers at all because I knew about the Britwind and also because the village I live in, we talked about it till we were blue in the face. It's still not a completely dead idea, but one day I would love to be in a position where I give Britwind a call to say, can we have a couple of 15 kilowatt wind turbines. But then, because that was an amazing story, I remember when we came to visit you there, that those were you were exporting an enormous amount of those. So you think, after you're allowed to reopen and have, because the staff working there, I can absolutely understand why you needed to furlough them, and there's a lot of people working there. But do you think the business will pick up? Because I'm assuming now the restrictions on onshore wind, judging from the most recent policy announcement from the government, would probably be removed somewhat. I mean, is that on the cards, do you think?
No sign of that at all, actually.
Is there not? Right.
For me, it's one of the biggest disappointments of the whole
10-point plan. Yeah.
10 pointless green plan.
Yes.
We're overlooking our most abundant, cheapest form of renewable energy, onshore wind. It's just missing. And still, the other anomalies, Robert, like if you want to buy solar panels for your home, you pay 20% VAT. If you want to burn coal to warm your home, you pay 5%. Yeah. So, we have to fix that, don't we?
Yeah, we definitely do. That is really obscene, isn't it? That is just deeply, profoundly wrong. But then just quickly tell me about this, because there's some new wind. I do see new wind turbines, and I don't know whether they're yours. There's 3 new ones just outside Bristol, which you can see from the M5. They're not to do with you, those ones. I don't know why I thought they were.
On the left-hand side as you drive towards Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ours. Yeah,
they're yours, right? Yeah. So you have put up some. So they've gone up in the last what,
2 years.
2 or 3 years? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a place called Alveston, and
That's it, Alveston. Yeah.
that was our last onshore wind farm, and we said at the time it's probably the last one in England now for quite a while. We haven't seen another one.
Wow. Because
which is a shame. It's sad, really.
It is, isn't it? Because I can understand, citing them sensibly and doing that, but
we've been doing that for 20 years, citing them sensibly. The whole industry has been doing that for 20 years, and it's a super popular form of energy. All the opinion polls the government have shown 60 to 70% support for onshore wind. Which pretty much mirrors the level of opposition for fracking, but they chose to force fracking on us and ban wind. They don't make any sense.
No, it is, but that is a very difficult one. I mean, the fact that I just remember reading that, some newspaper reports, and I found the report about the earthquakes around the Blackpool area, and you go, and you look back in history, they did have an earthquake there. I think it was in the 1860.
Okay.
They had one, but not very big. But it got into the local papers that the cat got scared and a pot fell off a table, and then suddenly there's like 4 a day.
Yeah,
that's totally unrelated to the fracking, obviously. It's just so. It's kind of. Even with the 10 pointless plan. Yep. It feels like there is a shift. I mean, I'm sure you can sense this, but there is a shift in mainly in public opinion. That we do need, the majority of people going, we do need to do something about this. I don't want to keep driving my diesel. I don't want to burn oil at my home. I don't want to heat my house with gas. That stuff is becoming accepted and understood, I think.
No, I think absolutely. And I think that's why actually the government have come up with something. I think they wanted to tick a box. They know it's popular to talk about green stuff. Unfortunately, they're not really doing much about it. It's a bit facile, but they're doing something just to be seen. I mean, it's a 4 billion spending commitment of new money. The other 8 billion was old money that was being recycled as pledges. And the very next day announcing 16 billion on the military, and there's 27 billion being spent on roads, and we've got 4 billion on the big green industrial revolution. It's pathetic, honestly. But what you're saying is correct. People are increasingly concerned about the environment and the way we live, and they want to change it. The rise of veganism, the adoption of electric cars, all of that shows us that, and businesses are waking up to that, and they're making the products that people need to live these greener lives, and that's all fantastic. But what's missing is a government that uses the levers of government, taxes, subsidies, and regulations to change the playing field. Because at the moment, all the embedded advantage and support is for fossil fuels.
Right. Which of course is so discreetly obfuscated. I mean, your general public going about their general day-to-day lives has no idea about that, because it's kind of embedded in our culture and in our society. It's just it's normal, isn't it? You dig stuff up, you burn it, and then the people who burn it or dig it up go, "Ooh, we need some help." We're only making 7 billion profit this year. Can we have some tax breaks?
Can we have some more?
Yeah, because it is. I mean, the one bugbear that I remember you and I've talked about this, but that always drove me batties, particularly after I went to a big oil refinery. Is that we measure every single nanoparticle of emissions connected with electric cars, where the electricity comes from, where it's made, how much losses there are in the transmission, whether the battery is efficient, all that's measured to an obsessive manic degree. And then what do we do with combustion cars? Measure what comes out of the exhaust pipe. Like that's it. That's the sum total. And that's like the last third. What about the rest of it?
Because those facts you dug up around the refining cost of petrol were staggering. I don't even remember them.
No, but the amount of electricity used. Well, the other one that I've only found out this year, and that's shame on me, is the whole cobalt argument. And it's I was at a conference in Norway last year where there was this amazing guy from Amnesty International who had done the report on the artisanal cobalt mining in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and there are children, it's definitely happened. Little kids have gone down mines, dug up cobalt, taken it to a Chinese dodgy tradesman and sold it. That has happened. It tots up to less than 0.2% of total cobalt output. But the fact that it happens at all is, a travesty for the rest of the human race. It should not happen. But what I didn't know is a very large proportion of the of global cobalt production goes into oil refining. Cobalt is used to remove sulfur from diesel and petrol. Has done for decades. It's never been mentioned by all the people that we've been hearing from since the 10-pointers plan. What about your cobalt? And the thing is, we now know, because we've done a show about it, you can break up a 10-year-old electric car battery, break it down to its constituent parts, and you can extract the cobalt. We've seen a tube of cobalt that was in a battery 2 days before. You can use it again, and it's perfectly usable. It doesn't turn into anything else. Same with the lithium. So they are now in Germany. There's a company that is 94% of the products of a pack, not just the cells, a pack they can recycle, which is incredible. And I've often liked to say that. Can you recycle the diesel I've just burnt? Apparently, it's harder. But yeah, so
that's brilliant.
Yeah, that is extraordinary, isn't it? So the other one that I really want to talk about then is the Forest Green Rovers, because that is still, to this day, still the only football match I've ever seen live. It was a momentous day for me. I really enjoyed it. That was years ago. I came to see the Forest Green Rovers with my daughter, who was explaining the rules of football to me. Yeah. And I was sitting next to a very nice man who was lovely. We talked about electric cars. He's got one. And then somebody waved a flag. It really shows my ignorance. I knew nothing about what I said. What's happening? And by then, my daughter was so angry with me for not understanding. And this lovely man explained that was the offside rule, and he explained the offside rule to me there and then, and I totally understood it for the first time in my life. Can't remember it now, but it made complete sense looking at the players on the pitch. Yep. But now I've forgotten who he is. He's very well known.
Gary Neville.
Gary Neville.
Yes.
He's such a lovely bloke.
He is, isn't he? He really is.
That was a friendly then between Man United and Forest Green Rovers. Was it something along those lines?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That was a good few years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So has that, because that is the thing, if people who don't know you, so because a lot of people who listen to this, not in the UK, don't know what you've been up to. That is a British football team that are when they're playing, when in the season, they're all vegans. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. The food we give our players for training and match days is vegan. Our staff and our fans and visitors, we have a vegan match day menu, and we're a vegan club. It's the thing about us that got the most publicity of all the stuff that we've done. We're a very low carbon club. We've tackled energy, transport, and food, and we've kind of woven sustainability into the DNA of the football club, and discovered that actually football is an amazing platform to carry a sustainability message. And when we began, we thought we wouldn't be preaching to the choir, and people said, you can't do this. Football doesn't work like that. Yeah. And what's this environment stuff got to do with football? And what we found is that football fans are just like other people, actually. Yeah. And when you stick this stuff in front of them and explain what's going on in the world and how we need to do things differently, they get it. So, our fans are buying electric cars and solar panels. They're going veggie and vegan, and they're becoming green. We've got like 100 fan clubs around the world that have just sprung up spontaneously from people that just love what Forest Green are doing.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Now, the one thing I remember you talking about was because that's one of my abiding memories of watching that actual football match. Obviously, I've seen it on the telly, but it isn't the same when you're actually there. One thing I noticed was, my goodness, these young men are very fit. The speed they run, the speed that they run and then stop. That's what you're kind of not aware when you watch it on telly, that they can run flat out and then stop like they've got good breaks. Yeah. But one of them, I do remember hearing a horrible sound, which is one lad running into another one, and he was carried off. Yeah. He injured his leg. I don't want to know what happened. But one of the things I remember you telling me around that time was that you've noticed that the players heal when they've got injuries and they've sprained an ankle, pulled a tendon, they heal faster. Is that me imagining that, or is that?
No, that's right. And it's become a thing about vegan diets, because I think that was nearly 10 years ago, that game actually. And
Jesus, was it that long?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and it was a new thing back then. Veganism was kind of still a bit of a cult to most people, and it wasn't common in sports. But today, Lewis Hamilton is vegan. You've got tennis stars, MMA, heavyweight boxers, footballers, American footballers, cricket, rugby, all sorts of people have gone vegan, and they all say the same stuff. They have more energy, they recover faster, and they have less soft tissue injuries.
Right. Wow. Wow,
So
that's kind of important.
yeah,
That
it's a
is,
big
you're
deal.
absolutely right, though. It is that kind of influence, because I've never been a sport fan, so which I see as a failing. I'm not proud of it. I'm slightly ashamed, but there's nothing you can do. I've reached an age where I realise I'm probably not going to be able to get over that one. But I'm absolutely aware of the influence that very famous and successful sports people have on the general public. And if you hear that Lewis Hamilton hasn't done that badly at motor racing, he's probably quite good at it.
Yeah.
And he's a vegan, and he now supports Extreme E. Have you heard about Extreme E? It's an off-road world traveling. So it's sprung out of Formula E, but it's a four-wheel drive.
Oh, nice.
Super trucks going, and their whole point is that they're going to be installing infrastructure for charging and for generating power wherever they go. So in remote parts of the world, that's brilliant. They don't just go there and race around and go off. They leave something in place, which is.
Oh, I like that. I haven't heard of that. It sounds a bit like the Paris Dakar, but
it is that sort of thing. But with, of course, you imagine now today with today's technology, a super powerful racing 4x4 pickup truck basically is what it is. But Lewis Hamilton has signed up for it. It's what he wants to do with the rest of his career. He's really into it. He loves electric cars. And you go, well, he's a vegan and he's into electric cars. It's my
place.
Yeah. It's extraordinary.
We got a new project on actually in the world of vehicles. We brought the Iron Horse back to the table, the electric motorbike that we want to make. So that's underway. Right. But kind of randomly out of nowhere, bumped into a hovercraft company sent me an email saying, we sell hovercraft. And I pinged them straight back and said, yeah, but have you got an electric one? And they came straight back to me and said, no, but if you want to give us the motors and the batteries, we'll make one. So that began a new project to make an electric hovercraft, which we're going to give to our friends at Sea Shepherd UK, and they'll use to police marine conservation zones.
Wow. Because because we built hovercraft on Scrap Heap Challenge, and they were always the most disastrous machines we ever made.
Were they?
They're really tough. They sort of, it's quite easy to make a sort of, double bed size thing go up in the air, with a big engine and a big propeller. You blow air into it and you fill a bag and it sort of does it. But then to make it move along and steer without collapsing or falling over, it proved to be quite difficult, but not impossible. We did do it. We have had I'm just super aware of the amount of power that went into the big fan that pushes you up. The one that pushes you along is that's easy. I can imagine that. Mm-hmm. But the one that kind of fills the air cushion was quite chunky. But it can be done, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we've scoped it out, and actually the craft that we're going to convert can carry 2 people and 300 kilos. And, the weight of the batteries and the motor is pretty much equivalent to what we're going to take out, the petrol equivalent. Yeah. And so it's going to have the same performance envelope as it would have if it was burning fossil fuels.
Right. Right. That is the thing, isn't it? Even in the time that I've been aware, in the time that we've known each other, the two things that have changed really dramatically, and it shows everywhere, is I think around 2010, the battery manufacturing cost to produce 1 kilowatt hour of battery capacity was about $1,500 US dollars. It's now about $140, which is unimaginable, isn't it? That change. And then the other one is the energy density of it, which when I remember talking to a battery chemist, in fact, at Imperial College, and he said we're improving at about 6% a year. And I just remember quietly being hugely disappointed, going, that's not much, that's rubbish. But if you do 6% a year for 10 years,
compounded,
it's a huge, huge difference. And that's what is so hard to explain to people now, that electric cars are still expensive, quite expensive, but they all go further because their batteries are bigger, not physically bigger, but they have more energy capacity. Yeah. So, all that stuff is changing.
Yeah, no, we're finding that with the Iron Horse project, because the guy helping us with that, Peter Stevens, the same guy that worked on the Nemesis, and he's saying exactly the same thing. We can get twice as much energy out of a battery now as we did before for the same weight. Yeah. When we built the Nemesis, batteries and motors were just out of
so expensive.
My God! And nobody made a battery controller. We had to make our own, and it was the bit that was the hardest in the whole project. Today, you can just go on the internet, you can find it
off the shelf,
plug and play. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yes. No, that was, yeah, gosh, when you think back, because I don't know when I would have driven the Nemesis with you. That was a while ago. That made still to this day, that was the coolest noise. I mean, it was a lot of noise.
It was exciting, wasn't it?
The drivetrain was not silent by any means, but it was an amazing car. Yeah.
Like a Batmobile or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. But then the other one I really wanted, because I'd want to know, I just want to know what's happening. So I saw I think you tweeted about it or something about a new electric highway upgrade where you'd put in more chargers. Because that's, I don't even want to talk about the ups and downs of the electric highway. I just want to state who was the first company and the first person to put in rapid chargers in every single motorway services in the United Kingdom. Was it BP? No. Was it Shell? No, it wasn't. It was Ecotricity. You did it.
Yeah.
You went out on a limb when there was like 9 grumpy old men like me with Nissan Leafs in the whole country going, the charging infrastructure isn't up to scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, go on.
No, you say, but I mean, it was just, very brave early adopter. You went right out on a limb to do it. And it has changed. But I'm just wondering what's going to happen next, what your plans are next with that.
Yeah, cool. Just to say, we actually, before we put the fast chargers in, we put 3-pin plugs on the motorway, which was
God, I remember that. Yeah.
Because fast chargers just didn't exist in the world. But we thought the one thing that's going to hold back this electric car revolution is having somewhere to plug in. And it didn't give you much, but it was better than nothing.
Yes. No, I remember stopping at Michael Wood's Services on the M5 and lifting up a clear plastic flap and putting a 3-pin domestic plug in while I went and bought a coffee. When I came back, I'd added 2 miles range.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So I think the poster referring to is a picture of Rugby, I think.
That's it, Rugby. That was it, yeah.
A new service station is being built, and we're putting in the infrastructure, the grid and the parking bays for, I think it's 12 high-powered charging stations, up to 350 kilowatts each. So the fast chargers you mentioned for the early Nissan Leaf were 50 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 3-pin plug is about 3 kilowatts
yes.
or something. And, 10 years later, we're talking about 350.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
It's madness. And, I think it'll stick 100 miles into a modern EV in 5 or 10 minutes or something, which is just super.
Yes. No, I mean, that's clearly going to come. But I mean, is that the plan then to gradually increase the capacity? Because I mean, I'm sure that is for people who've never driven an electric car, do a long journey, see 2 Ecotricity chargers in the car park and think, that isn't, okay, that's where I could charge, but there isn't a lot of them.
No, that's right.
If there's 1 million electric cars or 10 million,
Yeah, we've got about 100,000 on the road at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
And the load factor of our charges is still low single figures, like 3 or 4% or something like that.
Right. Well, so when the amount of time people are using them,
that's right.
Right. Yeah. That is extraordinary, isn't it? Yeah, you would think it was more.
Yeah, and it's a loss-making business as well. Lose about £1 million a year,
right?
And so it's a tricky thing. We're still ahead of the curve in terms of the demand for it. Compared to the facilities, but we need to stay ahead because the bigger batteries are coming, and actually the uptake of EVs is really about to ramp up.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to do more than a gradual upshift. We've been working for most of this year, looking for investment for a big HPC rollout, high-powered charging rollout, and a replacement of our old kit as well, because some of our stuff is 10 years old now. The fast chargers, some of the earliest in the world. I mean, they're antiques, and we know we need to upgrade them. We want to go cardless if we can. There's a lot of work to be done, but we've got that difficult kind of financial position where it's not a business, absolutely not. But one day it will be. That doesn't matter to us. We're not doing it for business reasons, but we've got to find the money to invest in the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We're on it. We think we may have nailed it, and may be an announcement next week.
Right. Okay. All right. Oh, we'll wait with bated breath for that. That is. What I am amazed at. Now that I essentially I'm in charge of a very, very small business, and it stresses me to a frazzled wreck on days. I'll just be in the corner of my office crying. As I've just done 19 Zoom calls, and we have a tiny little staff of very amazingly hardworking, incredible people. They just, do feel very blessed to have them, but it's still hugely time consuming, producing the amount of stuff we do. And it's nothing in comparison to what because I feel that you and I come out of sort of vaguely similar backgrounds, ages, experiences. There's a lot of similarities,
Yep.
We both lived in a truck. You lived in yours longer than mine, but, with all those things and our interests, but how you manage the company that you have I'm still very amazed that that you're not constantly in the corner of the office screaming at people and throwing things.
I'm fortunate in that I don't get worked up.
You're very good.
I'm a passionate person in terms of what I believe in, but I'm a kind of reasonably calm and very logical person, and I'm kind of not just able to deal with lots of things at the same time, but I like to, because if I'm not, then I'm getting bored. I've got a kind of low boredom threshold. So I like to be busy, and actually most of my life things just haven't happened fast enough. But now that I've got like about 10 different things going on all at the same time, there's always something happening somewhere.
I suppose that is true. Yeah, that is true. Because at the moment, I'm in my mind, I'm just juggling the next 10 episodes, that we've got recorded, but we haven't edited that one. That one needs a voiceover. We've got to do the graphics. It's all those lists. So it's in comparison, it's very, very minor, but it's a sort of version of that. But that is amazing that I think it's a really good thing. I think we're both blessed in that sense to have all those interests and things that are, because I'm sure you've experienced that as well, but, I feel 90% of the ideas I've had for something, and generally in my case, it's been a book, a play, a TV series or something, that in that realm, but 90% of them have fizzled out and come to nothing. But the 10% that have worked have been amazing. And I feel really lucky that that's happening. It feels like that's what, the things you've been involved with, they're never all going to work, but you seem to have had a pretty good hit rate.
Yes. I think I probably have. And, I think we're on the right side of history, you could say as well. Yeah. Both of us, the work that we're doing is absolutely vital work. We're pushing for the transformation that we so desperately need as a species. Yeah. We're doing good work, you and we. Yes.
Yes. Oh God. Well, this has just become a little sort of mutual adoration club. We should wind it up.
But actually, for me, that's really important because I get enough out of that. I don't need anything else. What I'm doing is the right thing, and we can see that. I mean, we've been friends for probably 10 years or something like that. The world has changed massively in those 10 years. Yeah.
And I think that's the only part that I would defend. I quite like the 10 pointers plan. Unfortunately, that's really caught on with me. But the fact that, regardless of everything else, what it has done in this country alone, and we're a very small country, but in this country alone, is it has given a target, and I think it has given a kind of, particularly for the automotive industry. I'm not sure about the energy industry, but the automotive industry have gone, if they stick with this, if something doesn't happen in the next 10 years, we're screwed unless. And that's what I want them to do, because there is, I don't want to talk about it in detail now, but I'm very, very convinced that it doesn't matter what company, any company that has spent the last 50 to 100 years making petrol cars could today make an electric car cheaper than any of the diesel or petrol cars they make, and they're not selling it cheaper because it undermines their core business. They're not going to do it.
But they've actually predicted within 12 to 18 months that the cost of an EV will be on a par with an internal combustion engine. This is what the industry says.
Yes.
And that's going to be a massive tipping point, isn't it? Because anybody buying a new car, why are you going to buy an old-fashioned machine when you buy something new? Yeah. And so I think it'll be taken out of their hands and out of the government's hands in that respect. And I think the choice
exactly. It's going to happen before that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
And that's why, in a sense, that, the people that I've had dealings with that are in the car charging industry, to put it as broadly as possible, that if you can survive the next 18 months to 2 years, if your business can survive, you're on a winner, because people are going to want to use your service regardless, that it is a kind of, you've got to see the big picture, haven't you, or the long-term picture, which is not always
business
easy.
is often like that.
Yeah.
Life is like that as well. But
life is like that. It's annoying, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. In fact, last night I was very proud. So this year, because we've had a lovely vegetable patch here that when my children were younger, I grew a lot of veg. It just went to a jungle. It was a nature reserve, I'd call it. It was definitely not a veg patch, but I reclaimed it this year because we were stuck here. And last night I made a vegetable curry, a vegan vegetable curry, Dale. I admit that occasionally I'll have a bit of cheese, but this was a vegan curry. And the carrots and potatoes and beans were all from my garden that had been cleaned, processed, frozen. And I got them out of the freezer and I used them to make and my freezer runs off solar and batteries. So that's brilliant.
That is brilliant. Love it.
But we used olive oil that was imported from Italy in a diesel truck.
You can actually buy it these days. It's been transported by sail ship.
Oh, that is good.
I've seen some in Stroud the other day.
I know. You can actually buy olive oil that has been sailed here.
Yep.
See, Stroud is, I reckon, 25 to 30 years ahead of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
In some aspects. In some other aspects, it's 30 to 40 years behind.
Yes. And actually, this is Journey Back to the Future, isn't it? Sailing ships.
Yes. Yeah. Sailing. That is incredible. I have got to buy some olive oil that's been sailed here. That is brilliant. Dale, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to
just a pleasure. Just a real pleasure, actually.
Well, I really enjoyed that discussion. I really hope you did too. I think Dale is an extraordinary man. He has some very strong opinions, which I gently steered around. He and Elon Musk, I think it's fair to say, don't really see eye to eye. That Tesla bloke, I think, is how... this is all to do with the charging network and a big row they had years ago. It's not even interesting now. It's just a bit of electric car history. And I'm not going to go into it now. I can't be bothered. But anyway, that was, Dale does do incredible things, really incredible things. And I wish him all success in all of it. And a really nice bloke, such a lovely man. And I've always been a big supporter and fan of Mr. Vince. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. I would really like to remind you that we have a survey running at the moment, all about renewable energy and electric vehicles. The links are all up on the YouTube. There's an explanatory video, and the links are all on YouTube if you want to have a look at that. But also the links will be in the show notes for this. But if you have, I've done it. It doesn't take very long. It's about 10 minutes. And you don't get your details taken unless you want to. It's very, very anonymous unless you don't mind us having your contact details. So it's not like you have to opt out, you have to opt in. I think that's a very important point. It's an opt-in data collection service. Except it isn't, because what we want is your opinions, not your data. It's really about the show, what we put on the show, what the position is of our audience regarding renewables and electric cars and all that. So that is... Well, you can find out more details on fullycharged.show, the webpage. There's all the links for everything we do are on that page. And that's it, really. I mean, do have a look at the Patreon link, which is also underneath this in the show notes. It's not underneath, is it, on an audio podcast? It's just in the show notes. There's nothing underneath this. There's just a void underneath this audio presentation. Yes. So, as you can see, I'm slowly losing my sanity. So it's time to sign off. As always, if you have been... Oh, and do subscribe. Sorry, I just remembered that. Please subscribe to the Fully Charged Show podcast. Lots of people are listening to it now, which I'm really thrilled. The numbers have really gone up on the podcast. So I'm really excited about that. So please do subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes. And you can subscribe on your own podcast downloading app, or we're also on YouTube on Fully Charged Plus. I was just trying to remember the title. As you can see, I once again said I'm losing my sanity. So, as always, if you have been, thank you for watching. Listening! Oh, I've got to get it right. Last time, I promise you can turn off. You don't even need to listen to this. As always, if you have been, thank you for listening.